Hey, are you thinking about selling your home, or maybe you need to sell your home and you're considering if you should pursue a cash offer? Maybe you got a random phone call or a text message, or maybe somebody sent you a letter in the mail indicating that they will pay cash for your home. In this video, we're going to talk about the pros and the cons of going in that direction. And I'm really going to talk about 5 different ways to sell your home, and that is one of them. But we're going to talk about a few other options that might be better for you, depending on your circumstances. And we're going to start this video right now. Let's start with talking about cash buyers. We are obviously talking about investors here, right? Anybody could use cash if they had enough money in their account. Technically, a family could purchase a home with cash. The first question I would have for you if you're selling your home is, what condition is it in? If it is in extremely distressed condition, or it's clear that it won't qualify for traditional financing for a buyer to buy it the traditional way, that's when a cash buyer might make a lot of sense. If you received a letter in the mail or a random text message, that might be a legitimate cash buyer. It could be. I would just do some research and be careful. It's always better to work by referral so you can at least rule out the fact that it could be some kind of fraud. I could tell you some stories about fraud and how that can happen. Let me know in the comments if you'd like me to make a video about that. Just do some research before accepting any cash offers or even pursuing it. There are companies like Open Door, OpenPad, iBuyHouses.com. We buy houses, we buy ugly houses, we buy yo house, we buy yo mama's house, whatever. There's a lot of companies out there, and you'll probably find some local ones as well. Again, you just want to look at the reviews and do some research to make sure that they have credibility of actually performing as they say they will. There are investors out there, believe it or not, that will go under contract, and then once you're under contract, they want to do an inspection period and they want to ask for more money off the price or for repairs. It just turns into this situation where you didn't realize what you were getting yourself into. But it's important to understand the contract and understand how this works and trust the process. You just want to verify the funds and make sure that this investor actually has the cash. I am also an investor, and if you're watching this video and you happen to be in the Hampton Roads area, I can deliver you a cash offer within 24 hours of viewing your property. I can say that confidently because even if I decide I don't want to write an offer on it, I have a network of investors that will. I know investors that will write offers on anything. It doesn't matter the condition. Let's talk about some pros in taking that cash offer. I'm going to share with you the way I operate and the way I write offers as an investor. Note that every investor is different. You want to understand your contract and what you're getting yourself into. I would deliver a cash offer, whether it's from me or one of my investor friends. We would deliver a cash offer within 24 hours of viewing the property. While we view the property, we also inspect the property. So when we write our offer, there's not going to be a home inspection period. There's no contingencies. If we write an offer, that means we're buying the house. It can close in 7 to 14 days. I've closed one in 5 days before. It really comes down to how fast the title company can do the title search. A very quick closing could be an option, but it doesn't have to be. As an investor, I'm going to try to work around your schedule. If you need a month or even 2 or 3 months, we can probably arrange that. Also, as cash investors, sometimes we understand that there's a distressed situation and there may be moving expenses preventing you from making your move. That's negotiable too. Sometimes we can offer cash on top to help somebody move into their next apartment or rental situation, whatever it may be. Anything's negotiable. Sure, there are some investors out there that are a little shady or greedy, but many investors, at least myself and the ones I work with, we want to do the right thing. We want to help people, but we also want to make money. Sometimes it seems like an investor may be paying so much less for the house when it's worth so much more potentially. But the things to consider is the investor is likely going to be paying a lot of money for repairs. Likely the money that's being spent isn't even coming out of their own bank account. In many cases, it's a private cash lender and they're charging 1 point each month plus a 12% rate, and they have a 6-month contract to pay it back. Plus they have a team of people that they are paying to constantly lead generate and survey for more opportunity. It's a business. In addition to that, and not having to worry about doing any repairs, the other advantage to a cash offer like this is you don't have to show it. or do open houses, have a bunch of people trafficking through your home in and out. You don't need to tell your neighbors. You don't need a sign in the yard. If you're looking for something quick, simple, and private, a cash offer from an investor, from a credible investor, might be your best bet. Now let's talk about some cons. If you take a cash offer from me or any investor, it's going to be lower than what the market value for that home potentially would be, assuming it was repaired into a decent enough condition to sell it on the market. You can probably expect about 70 to 85% of that full value. Outside of that, the other thing I would mention is you have a smaller buyer pool if you're selling it off the market straight up to this investor. If you take a cash offer from me or any investor, you're not going to have as much exposure on this property. You're not going to have as many people seeing it. You're not going to have as many offers or opportunities to receive offers and have potential investors competing with each other. Selling it off market could limit the exposure, which ultimately could cause you to make less money on your property. Which leads me to the next option, hiring a real estate professional, also known as a realtor. Hiring a realtor might not just bring you one cash offer, it might bring you 10 or 20 cash offers. More exposure and more potential investors seeing your property is going to net you more money. Outside of being an investor and also even a tour guide here on YouTube, if you watch some of my other videos, you'll see I make a lot of content about this area. But outside of that, I am also a realtor myself. I've been serving this area for about 10 years. Out of over 8,500 agents in our market, I was ranked in the top 3% of listing agents. I'm in a unique position to offer somebody something that investors traditionally won't. Before I talk too much though about real estate agents, I want to touch on something else real quick that you may have heard of or you may have been approached by, and that's a wholesaler. There are people out there that wholesale properties, and the service they offer is they will come in, they'll evaluate your property, they'll make you an offer. If you accept their offer, then they're agreeing, not that they're going to buy it, but they have somebody that's going to buy it for that price. And there's going to be a set term on the contract. It's usually going to be a 30-day or a 60-day contract. They're going to file that at the courthouse to ensure that they do in fact get paid and you live up to that contract. You can't sell that property without them until that contract ends. Then they send that out to their whole entire network of investors and real estate agents, and they find a buyer and they deliver the price that they said they would. It's really a sweet deal for them because they don't put any money up. They don't take out a loan. They don't really do anything except for assign it right over to somebody else. They make it very convenient. And there are some wholesalers out there that are very good, that run a good, honest business. There are some shady ones too. Some of these guys, if they can, they're gonna make 20 grand, 30 grand off the top. I think in most cases though, they're gonna make less than that. If they find an opportunity to make $40,000, they can. Whereas working with a real estate agent, it's actually gonna bring more exposure to the property. And most of us agents work for a percentage. We only make more on your property if you make more on your property. I'm not trying to knock what the wholesalers are doing. They're creating opportunities and they're working. I'm just saying if you were going to interview me and you were going to interview a wholesaler, there's no way in the world you would hire him. Keep this in mind too, you're not actually hiring the wholesaler. That wholesaler has no representation or fiduciary duty to anybody. That wholesaler is not necessarily even a business owner or licensed in any way, shape, or form. When you hire a realtor, not only are we licensed and held accountable to laws and rules that are set in place through DPOR, also we have the Realtor Association that will hold us accountable as well. When you hire a realtor, you're also hiring a fiduciary. What that means is that realtor has a legal obligation to look out for your best interest. They can't be hustling on the side to try to make themselves more money if that's not in your best interest. And we have a way of marketing your property to more investors, to more potential buyers. We do that through the MLS. The MLS is gonna populate it out to 300 different platforms. Zillow, Realtor.com, Trulia, Homes.com, all the sites. Investors are constantly watching these sites. I once had somebody who was referred to me from a past client approach me about selling his property. And within 24 hours, I delivered a cash offer. However, I gave him the other option and he chose wisely, because we ended up selling his house on the market for about $45,000 more than we would have gotten out of that cash offer. The cash offers that I deliver, again, those are only for specific buyers that have urgency and distress. If you don't have that major urgency, it's going to be in your best interest to let me list that thing on the market. And we will make sure that every investor in the state of Virginia sees this property. Also, you'll have a professional looking out for your best interest to help you interpret and understand the contracts that you're signing. Before you even sign, a professional is going to help negotiate the best terms and conditions that make sense for your situation. Having that guidance and that reassurance is very powerful. Not only am I going to help negotiate the best terms and conditions in the front end of that contract, also during the contract, all the way through the process, even sometimes after closing. I can tell you some stories. I once had a client that already had an investor that approached him, and we ended up selling it to that investor, but my client really still wanted me involved to make sure that everything was understood. I suspect what would have happened if I hadn't have gotten involved is there would have been a subject to, a loan assumption. All these things could be a good option, but they may not be. It's important to understand what you're getting yourself into. It's good to have somebody that knows what's going on and knows what they're doing to have your back. Many of us have family members that want to try to help, and they mean well, but how long ago did they sell a house? And did they sell a house in the same neighborhood as you? Real estate's a very local thing. You really got to niche it down. It's going to be a different experience per state, per city, per school district, per neighborhood. It really niches down. So we really want to look at the most local, most recent information when we talk about what price we would even want to sell it for. There's a lot of skill and a lot of experience required to properly price a home to get the most out of that investment. An agent's going to know how to best market the property, and they're going to be spending the money required to market the property. We have systems in place to guide us through every single part of the transaction. Sometimes there is contingency period, especially if you have a home that's located inside of a property owners association. We need to obtain the resale certificate. All the little details of the transaction will be coordinated by a professional that does this all the time. Just make sure you're hiring a full-time agent and not somebody that's part-time. People don't just hire me to net them the most money. That's a big part of it. They also hire me to help make sure that they have the best experience. Selling a home can be daunting, intimidating, especially if you've never done it, or maybe you've done it a few times, but people aren't selling homes constantly like we are. A good agent's going to coordinate any required inspections if that applies. A good real estate professional is going to know how to handle it if title issues come up. What if the buyer decides to default on what he said he was going to do? A real estate agent's going to have your back in every situation. That's what you hire them for. You don't pay them anything unless or until the home closes and actually sells. Now let's talk about some cons of hiring a real estate agent. When comparing that process to that cash offer I described, it takes longer. The market time may vary. It depends on whether or not you have a condo versus a detached single family home. It depends on the location. There's a lot of variables, but we could research and give you an idea of what the average market time is. But let's just say it's gonna take 1 or 2 months to sell your home, as opposed to 7 to 14 days. It will take longer to sell your home on the market. Also, you're gonna have to deal with traffic, showings, short notice showings, sometimes showings that don't even show up, which is frustrating if you have 3 kids and 2 dogs and a cat. Also, there is commission. That's how agents get paid. We get compensated through the sale. The commission amount is negotiable. The commission is very transparent. We mentioned cash buyers, we mentioned wholesalers, we mentioned real estate agents. There's another option. This option also involves a real estate agent. What if you just put a little bit of money into your property and then sell it to an actual consumer? This method does involve putting it on the market and going through the same process, but instead of marketing it to the investors, we're gonna market it to a traditional buyer. But it has to qualify for financing. What I do for my clients is I walk through their house and I look for the things that I know are gonna get flagged from an appraisal. I've been through the process so many times in the last 10 years, I've seen a thing or two. But let's say if something else gets hit that we didn't expect, be prepared that selling it in this direction could involve more repairs. But what is it that's really preventing your house from being sold traditionally on the market? The reason why I asked that question is because if we can solve that problem, that is how you are gonna net the most money for your house. Sometimes for my clients, if I need to, if it's as simple as new flooring or something, I will even put up money sometimes and loan money to my clients and actually pay for their flooring, and then they pay me back after I sell it. I wouldn't do that for just anybody though. It does allow an opportunity sometimes for one of my clients to actually net way more money off their property than they would have. Maybe you don't have a real estate agent like me in your area that would do that for you, but maybe you do. If you think this is the right direction for you, reach out to me and let me know what market you live in, what area you live in. I have a phenomenal network of agents outside of my market here in Virginia Beach, Hampton Roads. I know a lot of other agents that I can connect you with that can guide you through all these options after they walk through your property. Maybe you can borrow some money from a family member. Think of it as an investment. Sometimes if you spend $10,000 on your house, you'll find that you net $60,000 more. I've seen that happen. Perhaps just repairing the house, making some basic renovations is the best option for you before selling it. Maybe it's not even in as bad condition as you think. There's been times where I've sold properties traditionally on the market where my clients didn't think it was possible because they thought it was in such bad condition. When you have a traditional, conventional loan you're working with, as opposed to some of the other loan types, sometimes we can still pull it off. As realtors, our job is to give you your options and advice to make you the most money. The last option I want to share with you before I wrap this up is for sale by owner. This is where you sell the property yourself and you don't have anybody representing you. The obvious benefit in this is, in theory, you won't pay any commission, at least not to a listing agent that represents you. Unless if the inventory is extremely low, you can count on the fact that most buyers that you may come across are going to have an agent representing them. The way that compensation and commissions work is it's negotiated in that contract. If I go back and look at all the listings that I've sold in the last year, let's say, 100% of those offers were asking for the compensation of their agent to be part of the sale, to be paid for basically by the seller, right? Be expecting that. That's not going to go away just because you don't have an agent. I have found the most appropriate time to consider doing a for sale by owner might be when you already have a buyer. Let's say you want to sell it to your neighbor, or you want to sell it to your friend or family member. In that case, you could probably just hire an attorney and have them facilitate the paperwork required and close the transaction without an agent. And that's going to save commission and compensation. Another good candidate for sale by owner would be that seller that is always wanting to save money in every single area in life. This is an area you can save money. Obviously, you won't have the same service, the same guidance, the same representation, but you can save money. However, I would question if you can market that property and negotiate the terms and conditions better than a professional that does it all day, every day, and focuses on it. An agent that has seen how it plays out in so many different scenarios can add so much value to a transaction. Or maybe you've had a bad experience with an agent. Maybe you're in that camp of people that just don't see any value in agents. If that's you, then I would suggest the for sale by owner. Depending on supply versus demand in your market, I bet you will sell it successfully. I would question if that amount of money you save in commission would actually net you more money, because as a professional, in most cases, I can tell you, I will get more money for your home than you will. And if you disagree, I encourage you to try, and I mean it when I say I want you to get the most out of your investment. You could still market it online, take photos, videos, whatever it is, and market the property. And if it doesn't work out, you can always hire an agent later. I once found a for sale by owner for one of my buyers. I negotiated the terms and conditions. They didn't understand the market and exactly what their home was worth. And I have a fiduciary duty to who I represent, which was that buyer. So we negotiated a very good deal, and it actually appraised for $55,000 more than what my buyer was paying. The sellers don't know that. However, they saved $18,000 in commission. They felt like they got a good deal. My buyers, they knew that they got a smoking deal. That's a true story. Just because you feel like you're saving money, sometimes you're not. But I don't want to talk you out of it. I'm the type of agent that if that were the case, I would still be there for you as a resource. If I can help, I just hope that you would consider me as an option if by chance it doesn't work out. That's all. Let me know if you would like a referral for a credible real estate attorney in your area. If you think it's best to just speak with a real estate agent to find out all your options and really sit down and look at it, let me know. I'm here for you if you are in the Hampton Roads area. If you're outside of this area, let me know and I can refer somebody that can provide the same type of service that I would. Or if you'd like a cash offer, let me know and I can direct you to an investor. If you've watched this video to the end, please do me a favor and just tap that like button and subscribe to this channel. I am here for you as a resource.